When you started working as a night janitor at this RV campground in Oregon's coastal forests, you thought it would be a simple job. That is, until that night when you saw that heavy thing the old man was dragging into the woods. Yet everything had started out so normally. On the evening of your first day on the job, the park's elderly owner first takes you on a tour of the grounds to show you what you need to check. At the end of the tour, when you reach the tree line behind Block C, the old man suddenly stops. His eyes fix on the dark forest for a few seconds. Then, without turning to face you, his voice takes on a serious tone for the first time. Don't go near the edge of the forest behind Block C. There's such certainty in his voice that you don't even feel the need to ask why. You assume it's just one of the odd rules of an old man who's lived in the same place for years. Maybe it's to keep campers from wandering into the forest and getting lost, or maybe it's just an unnecessary quirk. From that day on, you follow the same quiet routine every night. First, you clean the communal bathrooms in Blocks A and B, then you check the trail lights, and finally you head to the market and the office building. As for the edge of the forest behind Block C, you haven't gone near it since that day. That single sentence from the old man is more than enough to make you change your route every night. That night, as usual, you start your shift at 11 p.m. Your first stop is the restroom facility in Block A. You wipe down the sinks, mop the floor, and clean the water spots off the mirrors one by one. Everything is proceeding according to your usual routine. As you finish your work and lock the door, a metallic clang rises from the darkness. Something is knocking over the trash can. When you shine your flashlight in that direction, you can't see a thing for a few seconds. It feels as if someone is crouching behind the can. Just as you're about to take a step, two small eyes gleam from beneath the rusty lid. A raccoon. The animal scurries frantically under the fence and disappears into the woods. You chuckle to yourself, realizing your earlier unease was unfounded. You lower your flashlight and continue walking toward Block B. You then head over to Block B. It's just as quiet as you expected. Glancing at your watch, you realize you're a few minutes behind schedule. Without lingering, you gather your equipment and start walking toward Block C. Next up is Block C. For some reason, every time you come here, the hairs on the back of your neck stand up slightly. Actually, there's nothing there to bother you. Maybe the only reason is that you're right next to the edge of the forest, the very spot the park owner has been warning you to stay away from since the first night. You're just imagining things, you tell yourself. As you continue pushing the cleaning cart along the trail, an unexpected glimmer catches the corner of your eye. You lift your head reflexively. From the forest edge behind the RV park, its entrance chained shut. A pale, cold white light is filtering through the trees. It appears and disappears among the branches. For a moment, it looks like a car headlight, but you can't quite make it out. A sense of unease washes over you for no apparent reason. Without realizing it, you hold your breath and listen to the darkness for a few seconds. Then you hear a muffled engine sound. It sounds like a vehicle moving slowly without stepping on the gas. It's moving so slowly that it seems to be trying not to draw attention. No one should be around Block C at this hour. For some reason, the sound of the engine instantly draws all your attention in that direction. You know you shouldn't go there, but curiosity gets the better of you, and you approach slowly without making a sound. With your eyes now adjusted to the darkness, you peer carefully through the branches. A pickup truck is parked on the narrow dirt road. The moment you see the truck, you recognize it. It belongs to the park owner. There's something large and heavy-looking in the bed, covered with a thick tarp. The park owner gets out of the truck. The moonlight illuminates only part of his face. He turns his head from side to side, scanning the darkness. It's as if he's afraid someone is watching him. Instinctively, you press yourself a little closer to the trunk of the nearest tree. You don't take your eyes off the old man. The old man is lowering the load from under the tarp with great difficulty. Gripping it with both hands, he begins to drag it a few steps toward the darkness of the forest. As you hold your breath and continue watching, the old man suddenly stops. As if he sensed something, he slowly lifts his head. His eyes roam through the darkness. His gaze drifts toward where you are. For a moment, you think he's actually seen you. Instinctively, you take a step back. A dry branch under your foot cracks at that very moment. The old man's gaze suddenly locks onto you. He's no longer just scanning his surroundings. He's looking directly at the source of the sound. And in that moment, you realize that if you move, you'll be caught. Then the man slowly walks away from the load. His steps are heavy but determined. He raises the lantern in his hand and takes a few steps toward the trees. Without taking his eyes off the darkness, he says in a voice colder than you've ever heard before, "Who's there?" For a moment, you don't know what to do. Your throat tightens, and not a single word comes out. Instinctively, you take a few steps back. Then you turn around and start running. Your feet slip on the wet ground, and branches slap against your face. Your breathing quickens as you try to find your way in the dark. First, you hear the sound of a few quick footsteps behind you. Then the sound gets closer and closer. The old man is running after you, too. As you hear his footsteps speeding up, your heart races even faster. You don't know what he wants, but the only thing you know for sure is that you want to get out of that forest as soon as possible. You run through the trees toward the supermarket and office building, toward where your car is parked. Branches slap against your face, and your foot catches on something a few times, but you keep going without stopping. You don't dare look back. When you reach your car, you notice your hands are shaking. You try to insert the key into the ignition, but your fingers won't obey you. It doesn't work on the first try. You try a second time. Finally, the key clicks into place. In the rearview mirror, you see the old man emerging from the woods and running toward the road. He's holding something, but you can't make out what it is in the darkness. You just see him coming toward you. As you step on the gas and back up, the man reaches right up to the side of the car. He slams his palm hard against the hood, saying something, but the words get jumbled together because of your panic and the roar of the engine. You don't let up on the gas until you reach the main road. You feel your hands trembling on the steering wheel, and your heart is still pounding in your chest. You never go back to that RV park that night. But there's one thing you still can't get out of your head. Was the old man really afraid of you, or did he just want to talk? You're starting a job as a night janitor at a high school in a small town in Missouri surrounded by forests. But the hiring process seems strange to you. A few hours after you apply, they call you. They ask just a few short questions, and at the end of the call, they tell you you've been hired. There's no in-person interview, and they don't ask for any documents from you. They tell you your salary will be paid in cash in person every month. There's no mention of a formal contract or any paperwork. Everything feels as if no official records will be kept. Normally, you'd look for a problem in a job that's accepted so easily. But right now, what you need isn't a perfect job. It's just an opportunity to get your foot in the door. So, despite your doubts, you accept the offer. A few weeks have passed, and the eerie silence of those long hallways from the first few days no longer bothers you as much as it did at first. Every night, you follow the same route, but the east hallway on the second floor is different. Every time you pass through it, you find yourself speeding up involuntarily. You don't know why, you just feel that something is wrong there. During your first week on the job, while you were cleaning, the motion sensor light at the end of the hallway suddenly turned on. When you checked the entire hallway, there was no one else inside but you. You thought the sensor was broken, but ever since that night, every time you passed through that hallway, you involuntarily quicken your pace. Later, you learned from a few staff members at the school that some of the night cleaning staff hired before you quit their jobs before even finishing their first week. Some said they'd found another job. Others never came back without giving any explanation. You don't let it bother you too much. You just brush it off, thinking that working alone at night in old schools isn't for everyone. You finish your work and leave the classroom. Out of habit, you close the door behind you and move on to the next classroom. About 40 minutes later, as you're heading back after finishing the classrooms at the other end of the hallway, your eye catches that same door. It's ajar by a few centimeters. You pause for a moment. You seem to remember closing it, but you're not entirely sure. I must not have closed it all the way. You think, just as you're about to close the door again, when a cold draft hits your face. You glance around the room for a few seconds, then notice the window. The window you left closed just a moment ago is now wide open. You freeze in your tracks for a moment. You're almost certain you closed the window. You walk over to the window and look outside. The yard is completely empty. You wait a few more seconds. There's no movement, no sound. Just as you're about to leave the classroom, your eye catches something on the floor. A faint footprint catches your attention. At first, you think it's one of your own. But when you bend down to look closely, you pause. The footprint is noticeably larger than the one from your shoe. Your heart starts beating a little faster. You stare at the footprint for a few more seconds. The first thought that crosses your mind is that someone might have entered the classroom before you. But there's nothing to prove it. You quickly close the classroom door, eager to finish your shift as soon as possible. You move on to the next classroom, but your mind is still on the footprint you just saw. You go through the motions of your work on autopilot, your eyes frequently drifting toward the hallway. No matter how hard you try to focus on other things, you just can't figure out how that footprint got there. Just as you're about to wheel your cleaning cart out into the hallway, a sound comes from the classroom a few doors down, the one you just cleaned. You freeze in your tracks. The same sound comes again, a muffled creak, like wood scraping against the floor. Just a few minutes ago, you'd straightened every single desk in that classroom. You know there shouldn't be anyone inside. You can't take your eyes off the door. You wait a few seconds, wondering if the sound will come again. For a moment, you consider calling security. Then you stop. What if there really isn't anyone inside? You don't want to cause a commotion over just a creak. At the very least, you take a few steps forward to confirm where the sound is coming from. As you approach the door, your heart starts racing. The door isn't completely closed. There's a narrow gap, barely wide enough for a finger, between the door and the frame. Just then, you think you see a faint movement from inside. You can't make out what it is. You wait a few more seconds in front of the door. When no other sound comes from inside, you reach for the doorknob and push it open slowly. The faint light filtering through the hallway dimly illuminates the front rows. The first thing you notice is that the rows aren't exactly as you left them. A few have shifted out of place. One is turned on its side. As your eyes adjust to the darkness, you look toward the back. Between the back rows, you make out a dark silhouette crouched on the floor. It isn't moving. Its head is tilted slightly forward, as if it hasn't noticed you. You can't make out its face. You just realize it's facing you. For a few seconds, neither of you moves. The faint light from the hallway spreads dimly throughout the classroom. You hear nothing but your own breathing. Then the silhouette slowly lifts its head. The man suddenly moves, but not toward you. His eyes drift to the ventilation grate in the corner of the classroom. He stares at it for a few seconds. It's as if he's trying to make up his mind. He jumps to his feet, climbs onto the desk next to him, and tries to reach it. He feels around the grate. For a moment, you really think he's going to crawl inside. But the opening is much narrower than he thought. He tries to force his shoulder through, but he still can't fit. You don't understand what he's doing. He doesn't seem to be trying to escape. He's acting as if he needs to get in there. A few seconds later, he slowly climbs down. Then he retreats to the corner of the classroom and stands there silently. For a while, you watch the man in the corner. He doesn't move. He doesn't take a single step or say a word. You slowly back away. Trying not to take your eyes off him, you walk backward toward the door. The moment you step into the hallway, you quietly close the door. Your hand lingers on the doorknob for a few seconds. No sound comes from inside, no footsteps, no movement. You can't finish cleaning that night. For the first time, you leave school before your shift ends. The next morning, you explain the situation to the school administration. At first, you realize no one wants to believe you. An old building, a dark hallway, a night shift. Everyone thinks it might just be a misunderstanding. But when you look into the classroom, some things are still exactly as they were. The desks are scattered, and the ventilation cover is lying on the floor. They tell you the cover might have been loose to begin with, and the desks might have shifted for some other reason. No one believed you, or maybe they did. They just chose not to tell you the truth. You've been working as a night cleaning crew member in a large office building for 3 years. This job has become part of your routine. You and your friend Noah have been cleaning the same hallways and office rooms together in no time at all. But tonight is Noah's weekly day off. For the first time in a long while, you'll be cleaning the building all by yourself. As soon as your shift starts, you take your cleaning cart out of the elevator and head down to the lower floor. As you step into the hallway, you're greeted by empty desks, dimmed computer screens, and a completely silent kitchen area. A half-drunk, cold Starbucks coffee on a desk, the employee of the month board on the wall, and a small NFL team figurine in the corner leave you with a strange feeling as you think about how the building was filled with people just a few hours ago. You empty the trash cans, mop the floors, turn off the lights, and move on to the next floor. As you leave each floor behind, you finally reach the floor that used to be occupied by one of the company's executives but was vacated months ago. You've been working in this building for 3 years, but this floor has never felt the same to you as the others. The moment you step into the hallway, you feel the air grow a few degrees colder. Even though the ventilation system works the same as on the other floors, this one always has a distinct, unique atmosphere. The silence is different, too. It's as if the entire building has stopped breathing. You know there's no logical explanation for this, but you still try not to linger on this floor any longer than necessary. You notice that the door to the conference room at the end of the hallway is ajar. Normally, all the conference rooms are locked after work. You pause for a moment and gently push the door open. None of the chairs inside are facing the table. They're all arranged facing the same direction, toward the empty wall. A brief shiver runs down your spine, but you immediately try to come up with a logical explanation. Someone probably just forgot to rearrange them after a meeting this evening. You turn the chairs back to their original positions one by one, close the door behind you, and step back out into the hallway. As you walk down the hallway, you hear the elevator motor running behind you. In the building's silence, the mechanical hum sounds louder than usual. You stop where you are and listen. A few seconds later, that familiar ding echoes, signaling that the elevator car has stopped on one of the upper floors. You pull out your phone and check the time. It's 2 a.m. Noah is off this week, and there shouldn't be anyone else on this floor besides you. The first possibility that comes to mind is a security guard. Still, the fact that the elevator is moving at that hour leaves you with an uneasiness you can't quite explain. You wait for a while. You hear neither footsteps in the hallway nor the sound of doors opening and closing. Giving in to your curiosity, you walk to the elevator lobby. The elevator is still waiting on its current floor. You press the button and open the door. It's completely empty inside. Someone probably pressed the wrong floor button, or the security guard got off at another floor. You think, trying to calm yourself down. Even though you've found a logical explanation, the uneasiness inside you just won't go away. You take a deep breath and continue down the hallway. Just as you're passing in front of an office, a sharp clatter rises from inside. It sounds as if an object on the desk has fallen to the floor. You pause for a moment and look inside. The pencil holder at the edge of the desk has tipped over, and a few pencils are scattered on the floor. You bend down to pick up the pencils. Just then, you hear a muffled growl. Your hand freezes in midair. The sound is coming from so close that for a moment you think you can feel its breath on the back of your neck. You slowly turn your head and listen to the room. You slowly crouch down under the desk. No one is there. You see only a thin layer of dust, a few forgotten cables, and an empty cardboard box pushed into the corner. But the rasping continues. You furrow your brow and sit up straight, trying to focus your ears on the direction of the sound. A moment later, you realize the sound isn't coming from under the table, but from the other side of the room. You slowly turn the flashlight in your hand toward the heavy curtains in front of the window. As the light sweeps across the thick fabric, you're now certain the rustling is coming from right behind the curtain. Your throat tightens. For a few seconds, you can't move a muscle. Finally, you take a slow step forward and reach your trembling hand toward the curtain. The moment your fingertips touch the fabric, they bump into something right behind it. You pull your hand back reflexively. You lose your balance and stagger a few steps backward, nearly falling to the floor. Just then, your eyes catch the bottom edge of the curtain. You see the toe of a black shoe sticking out from under the fabric. Only a few centimeters are visible. It's trying to stay still, but you notice it's trembling slightly. In that moment, you realize that someone is really hiding behind the curtain. You freeze where you stand. Your eyes don't leave the curtain for even a moment. Dozens of thoughts race through your mind at once. Should you pull back the curtain to see what's really going on? Or slip away without making a sound? A few seconds later, you make your decision. You begin to back away slowly. You take each step as quietly as possible. When you reach the door, you turn around and start running as soon as you step into the hallway. You practically run down the stairs to the lower floor. When you reach the security desk, you try to catch your breath. You tell the security guard, in detail, what you just experienced. The empty office on the executive floor, the rustling sound coming from behind the curtain, and the tip of a shoe you saw peeking out from under the fabric. While the security guard tries to calm you down, he sits down at the computer. Together, you open the security camera footage. As you rewind the video, you see someone whose face you couldn't make out entering that floor about 40 minutes earlier. They walk down the hallway and go straight into that office. As the footage plays on, the moment you enter the room, and then rush out a few seconds later, appears on the screen. Just as you head toward the stairs, the same person emerges from behind the curtain. After glancing down the hallway, they quickly head toward the fire escape and disappear from view. After that night, you never go up to the old executive floor alone again. You don't set foot on that floor until Noah arrives. But even now, on some nights, when you hear the hum of the elevator motor or see a heavy curtain shift slightly, the first thing that comes to mind is the tip of that shoe peeking out from under the curtain. After everything you've been through, would you continue working alone in that building?